Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all of you again. Please, thank you all for joining us today for a very special edition of Voices of Community series. Today, we are celebrating the month of open source. I'm Spursh Kesari, Senior Developer Relations Engineer at 𝐊𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡, and I'm super excited to be host of today's session. Today, we will go beyond the code. Before we get started, do feel free to drop a hi or the place that you are joining us the session from, and we will just allow a few more minutes for people to join in. I think people are coming in.
Yeah, we still have 2 more minutes, right? So,
I'm joining from Bangalore, India. Shini and Sai are also with me, Bangalore, India, and Shearsha is joining from Atlanta. Hi, Shearsha.
Hi, Spurs. Yeah, it's
Hope
cold in here. Yeah.
it's also starting to be cold in Bangalore as well. The lazy period started.
I think we can't compare the cool that Sriharsha is going through. Right?
Yes, absolutely. It's in freezing temperatures here. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's start. Let people join in meanwhile. So I'm very excited to host of today's session. So today is a very special session on where we are celebrating the month of open source. Today's session is titled as Behind Every Pull Request, Stories from Open Source Frontlines. And today we are going beyond the code. We will hear real, honest stories from people who build, maintain, and shape the open source projects, the highs, the challenges, and the moments that make everything worthwhile. Today, we will also look a deep inside look into 𝐊𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐻 Test open source office to see what our teams are contributing to projects like Selenium, Appium, and WebdriverIO, and how our open source continues to shape everything we do. We will also explore various 𝐊𝐿AMDA Test open source programs and how you can leverage them. So joining me today are three incredible engineers who not only leading the innovation at 𝐊𝐿AMDA Test, but also are the key contributors to some of the most important open source projects that we use on a day-to-day basis. Starting with Sai Krishna, Director of Engineering at 𝐊𝐿AMDA Test. Hi, Sai.
Hey, Sparsh. Hey, everyone.
Sai is an active contributor and member of Appium, Selenium, and other open source projects as well. He is deeply involved in advancing open source automation tools. Beyond his technical work, he is also a community builder, blogger, mentor, and international speaker. Up next is Srinivasan Sekhar, Director of Engineering at 𝐊𝐿AMDA Test. Hi, Shini.
Hello, hi everyone.
Hi. Shini is an Appium member and contributor to several other open source projects like Selenium, WebdriverIO, 𝐊𝐞𝐲, etc. He has also spoken at many and various leading conferences across the globe, starting from Selenium Conference to Foster. It's great to have you today, Shini.
You.
And last not the least, we have Sriharsha, Engineering Manager at 𝐊𝐿AMDA Test.
Hi,
Hi,
everyone.
Sriharsha. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing absolutely great.
Awesome. Harsha is a Selenium and WebdriverIO committer, and he's part of Selenium technical leadership committee as well. He is instrumental in building 𝐊𝐿AMDA Test open source initiatives and mentoring contributors across the community. And let's give them a warm, big virtual round of applause as well. So today's conversation is all about people behind the pull request, the real journeys, challenges, lessons, and everything that comes together to be part of open source. I have prepped some questions that reflect the most common experiences for everyone on their open source journey. Whether you are getting started with your first commit to open source, or you have been contributing for years in open source, you can take some inputs from today's session. And if you have any more questions, please feel free to drop in the Q&A section, and we will be taking them during the end of the session. So to start it off, so this is a question for all of you. What drew you to make the very first open source contribution, and what was the moment like? So was it intimidating, exciting, or confusing, or maybe all of them? So maybe let's start with Sai.
You put me on spot. I thought I would go last. Okay. Okay. So Sparsh, to be very frank, right? I think when I started to contribute to open source, of course, I think I was afraid. Uh, for mainly for one big reason is what would people think about my code, or how would people basically evaluate the way I write my code. Probably I'm writing some real bad code and things, right? So even before I started to put down my first commit, I think about 11, 12 years back, when we all had no AI and things, it's all just pure experience that come in, right? And I think I probably would have tried to do a git push uh, maybe hundreds of times, and probably I've not hit that enter key, and I've stopped, I've rethought, I've just taken a step back, and probably finally I thought, okay, let's figure this out, right? And that's how I started off, and it wasn't pretty easy or straightforward for me, at least when I did my first commit. And if I go back and look at all the code that I've written, like for the last 8 years, 10 years now, I mean, I wouldn't find myself in a place where I think, okay, I've written crap code, but even those crap codes have really helped so many people in the open source community, however bad or good that code was. But I think it's all a learning that we, look back and see, okay, there is definitely room for all of us to learn, right? So it was definitely not a very free start for me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Sai. Shin, if you want to add anything to.
Yeah, it's kind of a nostalgic memory for me. I think around 12, 13 years back. And what I did as a first PR, there are several bots doing it now. So I remember my first PR was about, I think it was embarrassing and silly moment wherein I need to change node version on CI. I'm not sure how many of audience know there was something called Travis CA. It was quite popular around that time. And I remember improving the node version from X to Y. Don't know the version, I couldn't recollect it. I was thinking, who will ever need it, or who will ever accept this PR? It's just 2, 3 characters. And I was staring at the button for quite some time. And then I think within few minutes, I got a message saying that, okay, nice catch, thanks, from someone from Appium team has merged it in few minutes. It was literally few characters. I think that moment of time where someone pinging me on GitHub comment, of course, you used to get emails, right? So that reply actually made me feel seen. And maybe, I mean, that was the moment I remember thinking, I mean, realizing that open source isn't about contributing big features. Even small wins also makes quite a lot of sense. I think the excitement for me was not about the code that I had contributed on my first PR. At first, there was no code. It was 3 characters changing from node version X to Y. I think it was someone from the Appium team who was trusting on me and watching for my updates. And I think that was a great start, I would say. Better late than ever. Yep, that was the moment of my first contribution to the community.
Thank you so much, Shini. Shreyash, over to you.
Sure, yeah. So my contribution to open source was more just like a necessity rather than intention, because when I started my career, I started with a tool called Protractor at my work for the automating Angular apps. And we were like, early on testing with Protractor testing Angular applications, but we jumped into multiple issues, and there were a lot of bugs because the tool was absolutely new. And instead of raising the issues, what I did is I took a deep dive into the issues, and I found that the issue was actually in the Selenium and not in the Protractor. So I started contributing to the Selenium with my first PR, fixing the bugs. But it was more exciting and humbling because it took 6 months to land my first PR, because there were a lot of revisions, modifications, disagreements, and kind of things happening. So that's how I started my first contribution in Selenium. And after that, I was not much consistent, but I was if there are any issues I see, I started landing PRs, getting rejected, and learning a lot of things. Yeah, this is how I started. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all your stories. I definitely relate with being nervous on my first commit. I was not sure will it be accepted or not, as Shini like you, and well, it was accepted, and the community was very, very reactive to it and supportive. So yeah, thank you to the maintainers out there. Uh, Moving on to our next question. So it's about finding your place in the community. And open source communities can be massive and sometimes a bit overwhelming. So how do you find the right footing, and what helped you get from just another contributor to feeling that you belong to that project? And maybe this time we can start with Srini.
Finding your footing, I think I was able to find it through, I started answering questions on Appium issues, basically on GitHub issues. So I think that's how I started footing, because those were the same issues that I or even Sai, we have been pairing for almost more than a decade since we started. So something that we faced, if someone else came through, and in fact, that was the issue. There was an issue thread. I remember meeting Sai. That was the first conversation, right? So some issues that you face, and you might have got an answer, but probably it is something difficult for others to figure it out. There wasn't that sophisticated search features around that time on GitHub, back old days of GitHub, right? So I think that was the moment where I would say I started answering questions that I myself would have asked few weeks ago on GitHub issues. Then I became kind of a CA person, go-to CA person for Appium's Java client, not by choice, just by fixing the build stubs for quite some time on CA for Appium Java client. I think it was also, I was super comfortable because of the maintainers around that time, and even now on Appium community. I think it was 𝐊𝐫𝐢𝐬𝐡𝐚, who was super welcoming and super helpful. So, and the support that I remember getting around that time, even for the minute change, sometimes I feel, okay, who will ever need these kind of changes, right? But I never felt that Isaac or Jonathan or others out there on the other side of the world haven't felt the same way that I felt. So that made me moving. And yeah, I think it was the consistency. I started showing up. And when I felt belong was, okay, there were some issues, okay, in CA, okay, Srini will take a look at it. So that kind of confidence that I was able to build over a period of time, although the changes were small around that time. So bringing in any small, tiny things will also add more value for someone who is not just a maintainer, by the end of day, user of the product as well, right? So that was the uh, small things I kept repeatedly doing it. I think it was the consistency that pushed me towards the brilliance, I would say.
100%. Thank you so much, Shini. I think being consistent is the like bare minimum of like getting started with the open source and
Yeah.
contributing much more. Shiharsha, if you want to answer the same question.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree, Spurs. Open source community is vast and diverse. So from my personal experience, what I can say is, initially I started raising bugs in the GitHub instead of debugging or looking into it. So for the first few years, I remember I just going on raising the bugs on the GitHub and doing multiple follow up with the maintainers, when they will be fixing and what is the when they'll be taking up as priority kind of. But one day I decided myself to go and fix the bug, and I just started deep diving into the internals of the project, and it was kind of really eye opening, because I learned a lot by fixing the issue. I learned a lot internals of the project, and that helped me to understand what actually we are doing wrong. So from there on, like, I saw myself not just as a user to the tool, but also, like, I saw myself as a committer, and I thought, like, my contributions can help, even the small fixes, or, like, even the type of fixes are more helpful these days. So saw myself as a contributor to the community. So that's how I found myself, like, coming in into the open source community.
Yes, sure, sure. Sai, over to you.
Yeah, actually, I mean, mostly Harsha and Srini's covered Sparsh, so I'm going to just add some more icing on this nice cake that these guys have just spoken, right? See, at first, right, Sparsh, whenever, people come in, you reach to me and Srini, because since we do a lot of conference speaking and workshops together, the first thing people ask is, hey, how do you guys contribute to open source? Where do you start? I mean, you rightly put the question, right? It's so diverse and vast, right? It's so deep. You just get into GitHub, you're gonna find like there's no limit to the repositories, right? Which repository do you want to pick? Or you want to add some repository? I mean, people are just, I mean, this is something which very commonly, most of the folks who we bump in ask, like, how do you guys stay so consistent in open source? Or where do you think we could start, right? I think at first, when, like Shini said, back in days when Appium was there, so when I just started to make my first pull request, right, it sort of stayed there because there were a lot of reviews, a kind of mentorship also I received on those pull requests to say what can be improved, how your coding styles can be improved, your practices and things like that. Reviewers took time to explain things. So technically, even today, Sparsh, I mean, I can give an example, right? So one of the repositories that we are working, I think Sri Harsha opened up this pull request 3 days back. I think a week or probably 3 weeks, right? And you'll not believe, even today, the kind of conversations goes on these pull requests, right? I mean, we were just laughing over this pull request, me and Harsha. It's like, dude, there are 94 conversations on that pull request, right? Which means back and forth, there has been like conversations going on how we can improve this, make it better, even today, right?
Yeah.
I'm not, I mean, that's the best part of how this entire stuff works, right? And that's where, reviewers take time, explain things, and that made me also feel included, right? Because they're not going to reject your pull request. I mean, we have been in those places in certain repositories where me and Srini have contributed. Maintainers or contributors like, yeah, I'm going to close it. I mean, they're not even going to say why they want to close it, but it's okay. I mean, that's how the world works, right? And over time, I started reviewing like others' codes too, and that shift happened, right? Just not me contributing, but possibly what I learned from others giving feedbacks on how things can be improved, and from being a contributor to a collaborator, right? That kind of shift I eventually saw. I think that is something which made me believe that, or made me feel like I'm also part of the community, right? And for me, when I started off with this shift, it was all about people, because I joined community, discussions, conferences, meetups is purely only to, get connected, meet people, and see, what are the cool different things that, people are doing in the open source world, right? And I stopped feeling more like an outsider after that, because of that shift. And it also started helping, newcomers, like how when, all of us started off with open source, someone helped us, right? So we started to, help, newcomers and participate in non-coding areas, right? I think a lot of people think that, open source is all about writing code, raising pull requests and stuff. No, it's not only just that. uh I mean, you can contribute to documentation, you can contribute to event organizing, like, there are conferences which is coming up, we can be a part of that, because now even a lot of conferences are so transparent that they also openly ask that, is anyone really wanting to help us, right? I think like 3 weeks back, if I'm not wrong, I mean, the Selenium Appium conf said that, hey, we're looking for reviewers who wants to be a part of the community, right? Who wants to also, help us over here, right? I think all that really makes me give me that sense of belonging within this community, and don't make myself feel like an outsider anymore, Smash.
Yeah. Thank you, Sai. 100%. That's very powerful, like belonging and making a connection, and that's help us be there for long term for a project. And yes, like we have seen since last, I think 2 to 3 years, I've personally seen like shift of people not just contributing code, but contributing not non-code PRs as well. It could be technical, it could be converting to a different language, it could be anything that can help better the tool, the website, anything, or any community as well. So yeah. Moving on to the next question, it is about unspoken challenges. And like every contributor faces through moments like it could be burnout, imposter syndrome, or even community friction. So, what was the one challenge that you have faced in your open source journey that people rarely talk about, and how did you navigate it? Shini, if you want to start.
Okay, cool. So one thing probably is I would say juggling between your day job and then contributing to, I mean, consistently contributing to open source. I think luckily the organizations that I am working now and also working before were super welcoming and allowing me to contribute. So I think I should give kudos to them, irrespective of whether I was working on Appium, Selenium, WebdriverIO or not. I was able to do it. Having this juggling stuff, although you organizations are welcoming that you are working with, but sometimes juggling between your day job and then contributing to open source, and even on weekends at times. Again, I had enough passion to drive me through that, and that's something I remember having a guilt of not opening GitHub notifications. It was like a Facebook notification or WhatsApp notification now. So stopped. I had a guilt of not opening the GitHub notifications or ignoring those notifications. I felt somehow like feeling like letting the people down who are dependent on the project that I am working and that I am passionate about, right? So then the mindset kind of changed over a period of time, and I was able to nurture the art of saying no, and what I could take and what I couldn't take at that moment in time, or what I could push it, or what I could ask for help as well at that time, right? So fixing certain times that works best. And I think there was some imposter syndrome still there, like just ignore it and just ship anyways, it's okay. And I had, again, as I said, I had learned this art of saying no. Okay, I can't take this up right now, but probably I can take this up later, right? Without feeling any personal feelings of bad. Or I also watched maintainers argue for days about something which is pretty small, where the energy drain is also real around that time, right? Maybe not in the Appium, probably at quite a lot of other places, or Appium folks contributing in external repositories. I remember experiencing that on some of the sub modules or some of the modules that we are dependent on. So I think that was the silent challenge. I think I remember seeing it, and I remember going through over a period of time.
Thank you, Shini.
I was so Sparsh, I started to smile. I still have that smile when Srini said, he felt bad not opening his notifications, just spending most of his time there. So he sounded more like, GitHub being his Tinder app type. So, right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'll probably add just a point here, Sparsh, because since, I'll just do a +1 to whatever Srini said, right? From organization perspective, contributions and stuff. I think I've not felt burned out because from early days, I think I'm glad that I was always contributing with Srini. So we were like that, always that pair programming default happening even in the open source world. So I never felt that burnt out kind because we were always in sync. So if I start thinking, he might just say, okay, let's do this types, right? So, but I've not personally felt that burnout part. I think it's more important, like Srini said, is even if you don't have a space where you've been encouraged to do open source, but you have that interest and passion to contribute to open source. I think it's all about how you want to plan your day. Probably start your day with reviewing pull requests or looking through what's happening probably for half an hour or 1 hour every day. I think that should like be good for you to keep yourself consistent in open source. And not, you know, say that, hey, I don't have like 4 hours or 8 hours of my time to contribute in a day. I mean, that's really, not really needed, right? Community frictions are always there, Sparsh. Even today, there are community frictions in multiple places. I think you just need to, like Srini said, you just need to decide where you want to put that energy of yours to see if that discussion is even going to take you anywhere, or you're going to, whether you're going to get any value out of it, or the community or the people in the community are going to get value out of it. I mean, otherwise you just dust it off and just walk off, bro. And that's something I still follow today.
Yep, yep. I think setting up routine for doing any extra thing that you want to do is the best to move in a longer run. 100%. Thank you, Sai. Shiharsha, over to you.
Yeah, so I want to take it in a different perspective because Srini and Sai has already covered a lot. So it's not kind of a burnout, but I think it's a problem that every maintainer and every project has. Often users they tend to raise bugs and come to the GitHub issue and they raise bugs and says that in a simple statement, this is not working for me, right? So that actually does not help us to solve the issues, or we even sometimes burn out understanding what's the actual issue is. So but sometimes I took that more constructively and guided the authors who is raising the issue to follow the guidelines, or follow the templates, or follow the SSCC rule, raise the short example, short self-contained example GitHub issue, so that we can take it and actually debug it really. So from that perspective, what I really learned from is, in the open source world, communication is also a key rather than contributing to the code base. So to all the people who are raising the issues in the GitHub, just give proper examples so that we can debug and fix it correctly.
And that never happens, right? And that never happens. So it's like every time, can you please provide full logs? Can you give me an example? So yeah,
Yes.
it's okay.
So I
Happens.
really try to see every project repo and go through every issue. The reason I the reason I can say a lot of projects has open issues because I can't understand them.
Yeah.
To be precise. Yeah.
And also, Spach, I think one more point here is, one is this open issues, what Harsha is mentioning. And a lot of projects also don't get, uh, you know, contributors, mainly is because they don't know how to navigate, where to navigate, what is even that repo doing, right? Because it lacks poor documentation. I mean, me, Srini, have built so many open source repos. I could say that, we learned over a period of time why we are not getting contributions is because we don't write good documentation, right? Because people don't know where to navigate, what to do, right? That's one. And second is, even when we write code, uh, try to keep it very simple, not to complicate, right? And so that when people come in, they look at it, I think that also gives them that kind of, a sense of happiness to say that, oh, okay, I can do something here and I will do it, right? Yeah.
I think that's a good tip for the maintainers and the contributors.
Yeah.
I think everyone should try to keep things as simple as they can. And yeah. Uh, Moving on to the next question. So this is an interesting one. So contributing to open source changes in ways beyond just coding. So if you can share as an example how open source has shaped you personally or professionally, or has it influenced you, your work, or any leadership or collaboration opportunities that you have gotten through the way? Shiharsha, if you want to take this.
Okay.
Harsha's making notes. Okay, I'm gonna write something now.
No. I just having kind
Those are
of
very
things.
difficult questions. Harsha's asking, I'm gonna write notes now.
No. So basically, open source has shaped me who I am today. So for me, it's like playing a game. I love to play a lot of games. The more I play, the more levels I get. It unlocks, right? So in a game, so it's like the open source is same. The more I contribute, the more opportunities and the more things gets unlocked for me. So I learned a lot from the open source professionally. It has opened the doors I never imagined, and kind of things. So who I'm today in Lambda test, or contributing to the open source projects and everything. But Personally, if you ask me, I got a chance to meet a lot of amazing folks, like Sai and Srini, and a lot of folks in the open source. And I invited for a lot of communities, and I enjoyed talking to them a lot. And I learned a lot from them to the way they debug an issue, or the way they take an approach to solve a problem, or the way they contribute to the open source projects and everything. Even today, if you say me, if you ask me in the Appium repo, I never seen this behavior. I never seen this thing in any other project. Appium team reviews each line of code, even that sniff statement or else statement. So that's how the 93 comments plus came in. So each line was thoroughly reviewed, and I still amazed how the review is done in the Appium team. It's absolutely fantastic. And this is how it opened a lot of opportunities and kind of things for me in the open source. Yeah.
I
Awesome.
think just to add here, a lot of credit goes to Mykola here, right? So he's someone who goes through and who has a lot of passions and goes through each line of code, even the comments, right?
Yeah.
So he goes through everything and then he gives valuable feedback. I think there is a lot that one can learn. Someone starts interacting with Mykola over GitHub, right? So it gives you tons of learnings on how one should write code, one shouldn't write code, right? So the code quality and the way how we write code actually has improved over time. I remember how I started writing code and how I am now. I think sometimes if we get bored, we go through the Mycola's PR and what kind of comments he has given. And I think it's a lot of learning and a fun way to learn. So you do a lot of mistakes and then learn from it, and it gets into a superb shape. And again, not as a critic, a lot of valuable feedback, I would say, that one can get it. And not just that, he also had a lot of passions in terms of answering people in issues. So such a huge project maintained for more than a decade, and someone patiently answering, I think you will learn a lot of patience, right? And for me, I would say the first opportunity of, I mean, we are all remote now. Everybody is sitting in a different place, but it happened in open source a long ago, right? So how we started working remotely is something that you can learn, and it's pretty easy for us because of the contributions that we are making over GitHub and the chat that you are having with people across the globe. And that was the first interaction, I would say. I, as a person who has interacted and started learning to work with someone whom I have never seen, even through GitHub profiles,
Yeah.
right? For a long time, I don't even know how people look like in Appium's world. I mean, maintainers world. But it gives you an opportunity to there could be a lot of variations, a lot of a lot of different things, uh, time zones, language barriers. But eventually, it was also a good starter for me in a IT world where it was started. So you will learn good kind of collaboration when you don't know the person, when you are interacting. But as Arsha was also saying, it's an art of communication, right? That's something that you will learn in open source. So when you don't know the person, when you don't see a person, it's all about chat, right? The conversations, trying to make other people understand, as like how you try to make uh, other people or other fellow maintainers understand your piece of code. It's the same way, right?
Yeah.
So,
100%.
so to add a point, what Srini said actually, but you won't believe me. After I started contributing to the APM, I literally maintained a separate document for Mycola's comments. So it's Bhagavad Gita for me in coding perspective. Each new PR, I'm still amazed that there will be a new change or modification or suggestion that he provides, that I'm still amazed on that. So I just really maintained a complete document of his comments.
And I was telling Srini, Harsha, that
Hmm.
possibly we should write a Copilot linter based on what he's commented so that we don't get 94 comments the next time and the bot will just do.
Yes,
I was
absolutely.
telling him like 2, 3 days back, right? Yeah, but yeah, coming back. Yes, but
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, started as a contributor, maintainer, conference. I think the Appium conference born on some of the casual conversations that me and Sai had in a Selenium conference. So then we approached our folks. They were like super welcoming. Okay, let's do it. So that's how Appium conference born. So contributor, maintainer, and then conference. I think it's a long journey, I would say. And each of these journey has a lot of learnings, right? So I think whole credit goes to the fellow people around me and also the contributors across the globe.
So I can say, like, this openly. I feel like I won when Michaelos merges a PR without any review comments.
Oh, that's not gonna happen. Don't worry.
Not gonna happen, dude.
Then that needs to be that PR which Srini mentioned, right? Just change some 3 letters only. Then that's gonna happen for you. Possibly even in the 3 letter something might come. Okay, why this 3 letter? Why not the other 3 letter? Okay, but yeah. So at least Sparsh from my side, I think Sri and Srini both have put it very nicely, and I think I just want to add 2 things, Sparsh. Personally, I feel this entire open source world has you know made me more disciplined in life, right? And at the same time, give that a time, right? Like, because that's what I learned with open source. So you break that time, see when you want to, because I'm going to spend my valuable time to people who I don't know. Like Srini said, right? We don't know, right? And I think when I started to do that, I also sort of got that sense where how I can do my time management, spend time with even people who I don't know, right? And of course, professionally, it has helped me in all ways for many many years, Sparsh. I mean, I think good example is even before me coming into LT, I think I know most of the people in Lambda Test is purely because of this community, right? Like I said, for me, community was all about open source, was all about people, and I think I got to know a lot of people through open source conference speaking and stuff, and not because of my pull request and my code, right? Yeah,
100%.
I think I just want to add that, Sparsh.
Open source doesn't just build software, it builds people and the
Yeah,
practices around it.
absolutely. Yeah.
And it's more, it's, let's say, if we call it work from home, open source as work from home, it is more work from home because we never know the person who is we are interacting with.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Like Srini said, right? When during COVID, when everyone's like faceless, all on Zoom and Google Meets, and you don't meet people, I think a lot of us, when we have this conversations like, "Hey, Sai Srini, I mean, I'm struggling so hard. I don't know what the other person is feeling, sensing," and like Srini said, I mean, we just smoothly navigated that entire path, Sparsh.
Yeah. It's also about trust, like building trust
Yeah,
on people.
absolutely.
Awesome. This comes to our last and final question. It's basically advice for newcomers. So for those who are listening and who are thinking that if you want to really contribute and not sure where to start, what will be the like one piece of advice that you wish somebody had told you before you started this journey or during your journey?
Okay, I'll keep it short. Okay, probably I'll take this because I'm going to keep it very short. Uh, I would tell people, please don't fear someone's going to judge you on what kind of contribution you're going to make. Like Srini gave a very good example. I think 10 years back, he just changed that probably 2 or 3 letters. It made a difference, right? So if it makes a difference for you personally, makes you feel good, and if that's going to help the community, please do that. So don't fear, don't sit back and think what is someone going to think about this contribution. Let it be anything, right? Let it be documentation, even going on issues and helping people, or giving a thumbs up, or telling that even you have faced this problem, probably you have solved it this way, right? I mean, that's also a contribution for you, right? And if you don't know where to start, the easiest way that you could possibly start a contribution is look around the tools and frameworks that you are using in your projects, and see if there's any open source projects that your company is using, or which you think it fits, and probably go to these repositories and understand, look around. So you might feel, and I think as of today, a lot of the open source communities have discords, discuss channels, discussions within GitHub. So you can join those rooms and probably seek help there, saying you want to start off but you don't know where to start. And I'm sure someone is going to really, sort of come up and help you over there. Yeah. And that's from my side.
Thanks, Abe.
Yeah.
Shini, if you want
If
to.
I could add, I think it's quite similar. Like pick something that is annoying you a lot. So start from there. Instead of searching, let's say pick something that annoys a lot more for you, so that you get valued. I mean, you get that value first, and others don't face the same thing. Again, as I was saying, pick tools that you use daily, which is easier for you because you know about the tool, you know about some of the people behind it probably, and I mean also learn about how community talks, right? So here how community talks probably is all about what do they need, their expectations when you raise a PR. So is it just one liner, or try to make others also welcomed by your PR? I think it was also, I mean, my Appium start was also purely selfishness in terms of starting the CA change, because it was blocking my work. And also there are certain communities who has community calls, like Selenium has a community call, and seeing faces behind those GitHub avatars, I'm sure you will feel motivated. So at least for sake of seeing faces, please feel free to join it. And Appium used to have something called open scrums long back. So so I think try to join this kind of calls or community networking stuffs. And again, try to help others. It doesn't matter whether it is code or anything that works for you, and that takes less amount of time and drives you through your passion. That's it.
Thank you so much, Shini. Shirish, over to you.
Yep. So Sunny and Sai has pretty much covered everything, but my advice would be like, as Sai said, start with the project that you use on your daily basis for your work. So you can start trying to understand the code base first, because these days a lot of the GitHub projects code base is huge. So this is how the actual process starts when you're contributing. So understand the code base first. So I start with the small fixes, it may be a typo fix or whatever it is, CI improvements or documentation. So go with the small fixes. So even I proudly say today that I started much contributions to Selenium docs rather than Selenium. This is how I moved from docs to Selenium and later Docker Selenium kind of projects. So as Srini said, a lot of maintainers these days are also welcoming the contributors. So even now we have Selenium TLC meetings, everyone can join. And WebdriverIO has open office hours. You can just schedule a one-to-one meeting with the maintainers and discuss on issue and get it fixed. So the lot of maintainers are also welcoming. And the last thing I want to mainly say is be consistent, because when you're contributing to open source, initially it may take time to gain the trust from the maintainers. So you just don't open the pull request and disappear for long away for decades. So there are few pull requests I see people opened but they never visit back and address the comments. That's how the GitHub issues or PRs get automatically closed. We never closes it, but we have the configuration in the GitHub. If that is 1 year old or 180 days old, then issues pull requests are automatically closed. So revisit the PRs you raised, address the comments, fight for it and get it merged. That's how your contribution helps. Yeah.
Very well said, Shirish. I think this was very inspiring and honest and practical. I think people might have an idea of doing these things, but hearing out loud from you guys who have done this around, and like this will give them sort of affirmation that they are on the right path. So be consistent, be kind. I think be kind to new contributors that are joining, and all as well as to the maintainers. And yeah, and it's an amazing journey ahead. I actually also had a side question. So as AI has been entered our development and open source space as well, so has there been any changes in how people are contributing with AI, or how maintainers are processing or adding AI into their pipeline. So are there any examples or what effect that makes to the contributors that are out there? So should they learn about AI and contribute, or should they do it in a traditional way and learn the basics first and then go on to AI assisted codes?
There's a twofold to this, Parsh, right? Of course, I'm not saying, don't use AI. I mean, of course, I will say use AI, get the benefit out of it. So it's going to increase your productivity. I'll just purely tell what we have been observing in the last few months in the open source world, right? How people are using AI. So why I said it's a twofold, Sparsh, is Srini. I mean, you can add your Harsha as well, is because people now it's become easy to contribute, right? People who think that I might not even be able to write code can write code now, right? And now what this has also created a lot of sort of a pain to maintainers and um, mentors, because they write a lot of code. They say, I'm going to clean up, they're going to write a lot of code, and we spend so much time to review it, which might not be the need of the hour at all. Let's say even if you're refactoring something, from your refactor, if there's a benefit for someone or the repository, let's say you're refactoring it because you're going to, like, possibly it's going to help you make the repository easy to maintain. Makes sense, right? So the next time when we make some changes, it's going to help us. Or probably you're going to make that change because XY module or the code is outdated and there's a new one, you want to update it. Makes sense. Or possibly um, you're going to improve the performance and things, right? So all these areas, it would basically help. Right now what is happening is pull requests are coming, we are starting to review, we spend so much time reviewing, commenting and all that, then it just goes, right? And then we realize that you know there's no need for such a small kind of a change, which is not going to help anyone here. So it's only like a time which is just down the drain of maintainers and things, right? But at the same time, the other side is also good, because if you want to build a feature or contribute or fix a bug when you know exactly what it is, possibly you spending like about maybe a week or so, or maybe 3 days, probably it can reduce to 3 hours, 2 hours. Now, I mean, that way the AI can also sort of help us to increase the productivity.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sai. Shini, if you want to add anything, otherwise we'll move on to the next segment.
So using AI for the open source contributions helps to get started, I can say, because after some period of time, when you land more commits and you get contributor or maintainer roles, what happens is you need to have a clear understanding of the code base, what's happening in the code base. So it is you again who will be reviewing the PRs again, as I said, raised by the AI things. So one small mistake can break a lot of trust on the repo itself when you're using the AI. So you have to be more careful when you're using the AI for the open source contributions. And also, from past 6 months, I've been using the AI for the regular works and kind of things. But for the open source, I strongly believe that open source is all about inventing things, or coming up with the new ideas that AI can't do. If I ask something which that does not exist, AI can't help, right? So uh, it may be a repo, or it may be a code base, or it may be a logic, right? So I need to start digging from the scratch, providing for that solution. I need to innovate, and I need to write a lot of things to provide the solution, so that AI can't do. So use AI to build up new solutions, or to make more things easier, but not revamping things or modifying things, or doing the existing changes, as I said. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
just use it wisely, and only when you are super confident about what it actually gives you back. Just checking.
you. Thank you so much. Uh, that was all wonderful answers, and I think it will help people a lot. So if you have any other, to the audience, if you have any other questions, please feel free to drop in the Q&A chat, and we'll take them in the end.
Maybe Sai can also expand this better. There are a lot of LLMs these days, so you have to choose the correct LLM for your AI, work for coding. Uh, yeah.
True. True. Thank you so much. Now we will shift some gears a bit and we will see how open source, what is Lambda Test Open Source Office, what teams that we have, what projects are we working on, and what programs that people can also leverage into their day-to-day contributions or open source journey, or even if they are a consumer, how they can like use open source program to help better their projects as well. So just a quick deep dive into our open source team, our Lambda Test open source office, or we also call it OSPO. So we have Shini, Sai, and Shiharsha. We have already met all of them. We also have Swastik and Naveen. Swastik and Naveen both are, I think, in Lambda Test since last 1 year. And they have been great help contributing in Selenium, I think, as well as in Appium, and also linking all the community together, talking about Lambda test, talking about different projects they are contributing to, and as well as talking about open source in general. Shirsha, if you want to add anything more about Swastik and Naveen.
Yep, sure, Sparsh. So it's been a year, they joined Lambda Test and started contributing to the projects from the open source side, and their contributions were so valued and great. They sooner end the committed roles in a lot of open source projects. Even I can say openly that Selenium has invited them as a committer. They have obtained the committed roles already. And if you see Swastik, he's just an intern, but he does an amazing job. And he's also a member of FOSS India, like free and open source software, India. And he does a lot of community events and apart from this open source work, and he's an amazing guy. And I can say Naveen is kind of precisely a coder. He does a lot of stuff, and his codings are much valued, and he does a lot of contributions to the Appium and Selenium. Yeah.
Awesome.
These guys are very inspiring, to be honest. Sometimes I feel like I am talking to someone who has 20, 30 years of experience. I mean, these guys have done a lot of amazing stuff. So I sometimes feel, okay, I should have started a little later.
Yeah.
Shout out to Swastik and Naveen. Thank you so much for all your contributions. Uh, Moving on. So our OSPO team are deeply involved in contributing to Selenium, Appium, and WebdriverIO, collaborating with directly with maintainers, maintaining the projects, reviewing pull requests, and even driving new exciting features. Though the open source office is not just supporting these open source tools, we are also helping shape the future of testing and automation itself by contributing to these projects. So just to take a closer look, let's pass on the stage back to our speakers, Shini, Sai, and Shiharsha, to take a quick sneak peek in what cool features are these tools currently working on, and what are next for these projects. So let's start with Selenium. Uh, uh,
Yes, but I'll take this part. So, what's going on now with the Selenium is I see a lot of comments in the LinkedIn Selenium is dead or it is slow, and there are a lot of tools, new tools in the market. So I agree because every tool has its own pros and cons, and Selenium celebrates its 21st birthday as of yesterday. So yeah, so what's going on Selenium is actually adopting the WebDriver BiDi implementation. It's a new protocol. It's a bidirectional protocol. So we are not moving away from the existing classic or CDP protocol. Those will be still be there, but Selenium is completely adopting the WebDriver BiDi protocol. And if you see, the lot of browser vendors are also ready with the BiDi implementation. If I say Chrome and Firefox has 90% implemented the BiDi specification, and they are modifying and revamping things to make it more faster. And so we are implementing all the BiDi stuff regularly in the Selenium, and we are releasing now in a nightly releases and in a monthly releases to keep up with the Chrome versions too. And second one is the platform modernization. So we moved away from Java 11 to Java 17, and that means we have replaced a lot of deprecated things or deprecated methods with the new methods like Guava with caffeine and native HTTP client and kind of thing. So we have also done a lot of refactoring during these during these releases, during recent releases. So this refactoring is nothing but I can say it's a groundwork for Selenium 5 directly. And with a lot of improvements, we have also added type safety, JS specify to add support for the Kotlin, and to make have the stronger static analysis and better IDE integration for the developers who are using the Selenium API, and grid enhancement. So Selenium grid is always evolving. So we have making a lot of changes to improve the stability and manage the session better, and we are also having new UI improvements for the grid, and build an infrastructure as I said, we have done a lot of customizations to our pipelines these days to automatically releases Selenium for all the language bindings at once, and we have nightly releases nightly releases with all the fixes, not to wait for the stable release, right? So we have done a lot of improvements in the recent years for the Selenium. So what's yeah, next slide, Sparsh. So what's next is, so I can say Selenium 5 will be full BiDi ready, I can say. So BiDi opens a lot of doors for the Selenium and to compete with other tools and what other tools are doing. So you can see the network events, listen live logs, performance metrics, and everything. So BiDi is a all-in-one protocol for the web browser and WebDriver automation. And so Selenium 5 will be full of BiDi, and we will be removing all the deprecated APIs. So when I say deprecated APIs, we deprecate methods and we usually remove after 2 releases. But Selenium 5 will be removing all the deprecated APIs. And as I said, we are making stable mode for Java 17 plus. So there will be no support provided for Java 11 or previous versions. And more simpler or modular code design, I can say this is for the better maintenance for the developers. And from the grid enhancement, grid is already a perfect one, I can say. It is always evolving. So we are making more scalable fault tolerant grid, so that you can also see better observability and get better metrics. And coming to the developer experience focus, so we are making Selenium in order to set up easily, execute faster, and we are thriving to provide better documentation for all the language bindings and provide good static analysis, type hints, and debugging tools for the Selenium. So this is what we are planning for the Selenium 5 as of now.
That's very exciting. I think it's going to change a lot of things in Selenium and how we use it.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Yosha. Moving on to Appium, over to you, Shini and Sai.
Thanks, Sparsh. Shini, you want to start off? Then I can keep chipping in.
More about Appium 3 work that we have finished and released recently, and wherein we encourage all of our users to move to a much smoother release, not like Appium 2 which was in beta for more than a year, right? So more cleanup and a lot of wonderful changes internally for anyone who would love to contribute to Appium, and anyone who would love to maintain Appium and taking it to the next level in terms of binaries that we are using under the hood. So node upgrades, Express server upgrades, and NPM version upgrades, setting a minimum version required for node and NPM. A lot of deprecated commands were there for years in Appium, so it was something that we have cleaned up and removed on 3. So a lot of good work done by our folks on speed and security as well. So there was a long pending ask in terms of masking sensitive information on logs. I think that was one of the great work that we have done in terms of kind of a simpler solution, but adds a lot of value, I would say, in terms of masking sensitive information in logs. More linear and more maintainable runtime. And of course, we are moving towards that modern JS ecosystem, right? So yep, driver isolation for safer test execution. And now we have solved another pain point in terms of moved Appium Inspector, not just as a standalone product, also acts as a plugin as well now. setup, of course, is quite lighter and much more easier for anyone who would love to use it. Yep. Maybe next thing. Let's see what's happening and what's something that we are working on.
Yeah. So with what's next is so we've been working on a new module which is called Remote XPC. So Apple is slowly deprecating some of the APIs which was working in the earlier versions, and they've come up with something called as shim services. So if you see, even in today, when you're automating on iOS 26, some of the functions may not work when you're working on with your real device. So we've been working on getting this remote XPC module and integrating it completely with Appium. And what does this mean is this would eventually enable a cable-free Appium testing. So even down the lane, if Apple decides to remove all those rumors which is going on, where Apple might remove, your USB like they did to the slim slots, no? So if they remove the USB, then how would you want to automate them, right? So we are just prepping for the
Just to
future.
add on,
Sorry, Srini.
yeah, just to add on, a lot
Yeah.
of kudos to Harsha on that front. He has done amazing groundwork in terms of having this available for everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's done
Thanks,
some
Srini and Sai, for the support.
unbelievable reverse engineering work to understand bytecodes
This
and
is
stuff.
where AI didn't help me much because it was kind of a
Great.
new solution from the ground.
AI doesn't understand internals of iOS. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's one big thing that people can look forward. And the next thing is, yes, everyone's talking about MCP. So where is MCP for Appium? It's on its way. So we're going to bring in MCP Appium as well, which will help you folks to build agents or do whatever you want to do using your smart IDs and in like client rules and cursors and stuff. So just keep watching out LinkedIn and spaces. So we are just close to having the first major version coming out. So once it is out, we will also make these announcements everywhere so people will get to know when the MCP Appium is basically out.
Yeah, just to add to Sai, not a typical any other one more MCP for Appium. So it's gonna add or bring a lot of value to our users. So we are trying to solve a lot of problems that we as users encounter while dealing with Appium, be it debugging, be it writing a test script, be it something that you want to search. So even ourselves doesn't know there is something that exists in Appium. So we understood it through MCP as well. That I mean, you can find something in our Appium documentation, or you can debug your logs, right? So we are trying to add a lot more value to people through MCP. So look out for those spaces that we are trying to move our MCP to Appium. And
Yeah. And probably we can give a gist also, Srini, the what they can expect, right? So Srini already said one part is on the documentation. And one more possibly I'll also put a chime here is so if you start using the MCP Appium, so it's not just going to navigate your apps and do things for you, and you just say that okay, for this entire journey what you did, basically generate me an entire automated test script, and which includes the right ways of scroll gestures and etc etc. So it's going to completely generate that as well. And we are also working on bringing some of the rules and Claude skills and things like that, so that you can have those and use and get the right benefit out of this MCP by just not adding and asking it to do some clicks and scrolls for you. Yeah.
That's really exciting, Shane and Sai. Thank you so much. Uh, I think people will be looking forward to trying that hands-on.
Yeah.
Moving on to WebdriverIO. Shersha, back to you.
So WebdriverIO is a all-in-one package framework, I can say, because when you look into the other tools like Selenium or Appium standalone tools, but WebdriverIO comes in a lot of packages, integrations, and a lot of stuff. So what's going on with the WebdriverIO is for the version 10, so we are at the V9 currently. Uh, I'll speak about the V9 first then. So for the V9, we are actually only aiming for the better stability and like bug fixes and continuous improvement on the BiDi, I can say. So there are a lot of recent errors that WebdriverIO encountered with the new reporter changes, Allude reporter changes, and also Cucumber reporter changes, and retail logic and event chaining. Because WebdriverIO is in verge of completing the BiDi implementation too in the backend, so that broke few of the classic and BiDi things when switching between the classic and the BiDi. So WebdriverIO is fixing a lot of things for the better stability. And as I said, the reporter and frameworks updates. There are a lot of issues with the Allude 3 and Cucumber report previously, and WebdriverIO has improved a lot of these reported things and for the users. And servicing in the tooling from the servicing and the tooling part, WebdriverIO fixed a lot of issues around XVFD, so which is actually useful to run the headless test cases or in the CI. So now your test cases will be more faster in the CI when you run in the headless. And ecosystem polishes and docs, we have provided enhanced debugging capabilities and more commands for the debugging capabilities. So these are minor improvements, improving docs, adding more documentation for the work we done for the selectors, aria selectors, kind of thing. And dependency upgrades are bit kind of different in the WebdriverIO. So there are few decisions we have made recently, so that comes in the part of WebdriverIO V10. So currently there is no fixed milestones or fixed roadmap for the WebdriverIO V10 version, but I can say there are a couple of things that we have planned for the V10 version. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah, so for the V10 version, mostly what we are trying to do is we are trying to reduce the gap between the component testing and the integration testing things. So we have added more we are trying to expand more component and unit testing capabilities in the WebdriverIO. And for the better developer experience, I can say we are doing a lot of stuff to integrate better with the VS Code IDE to be more lightweight and to improve the more debugging thing. And you can see enhanced network and performance tooling that comes as part of BiDi implementation. So we used to have a lot of lighthouse tools and packages or services that runs behind. But when you integrate with the BiDi, BiDi does this all automatically behind the scenes. So with BiDi, you can get a lot of performance tooling with the WebdriverIO. And even WebdriverIO is supporting a lot of modern front-end frameworks. We have already support for React, Vue, Svelte, and web components. So we are still making better, because there are a lot of framework enhancements going at the front-end side too, if you ask me, on the for React and Vue. And as I said, we are continuing investment in the WebDriver BiDi protocol, because that is the protocol for it's the future for web automation standards and WebDriver automation. So some part of at some time Classic will be deprecated, and because every browser vendor is moving to WebDriver BiDi now, apart from Safari. And From the platform stack modernization, I can say we are dropping support for Node 18, because as you know, WebdriverIO runs on all Node.js ecosystem. So we have to move on to the new Node.js versions to support Node.js versions. So we have deprecated Node 16 already, and with the V10 version, we have planned to drop support for Node 18 versions too. So we are only supporting Node 20 plus versions. And if you see, WebdriverIO release things for the major, every year WebdriverIO releases a new major version. So you can expect a V10 version anytime soon, in this year or early next year. Yep.
Thank you so much, Yosha. I think the what's next part for all three projects is very exciting. Like if anybody really wants to start contributing, I think this part might have excited you as well. So if you need any help, any guidance, please reach out to Shini, Sai, and Harsha. They are awesome mentors, and they will help you guide through your contributions as well. Moving on to another exciting part is basically Lambda test for communities. So at Lambda test, we have a lot of different programs and different activities that you can take part as your learning curriculum, as well as to upskill and grow. So as you all already know, Voices of Community, we are in a Voices of Community session, and this is a monthly webinar series. We have TestMu conference, that's our annual flagship conference. Spartans program is our brand ambassador program, where we make a community of brand ambassador programs where everybody can learn and grow together. We also have communities. We also have different kinds of certifications that you can take part of. So if you are interested in any of these, please do just do a easy quick search on Google and you will find these programs and you can just join in one of these programs. But today we will focus more on two special programs. I think these are most exciting programs out of all of these. It's basically grants for open source and open source program. So I will go through each of them, and yeah. So first is Lambda's open source program. So Lambda's open source program is a program where we sponsor different open source projects with Lambda test infrastructure for their testing. So if there is any projects that are out there, or if you are maintaining a project, or even if you are consuming a project. So if you want your project to be tested on Lambda test infrastructure, you can just feel free to uh, reach out or fill out this form. So this is our webpage of a Lambda's open source program. You can just feel free to submit this form, and we will reach out to you. It's not only just Lambda's testing infrastructure. We also help you with financial sponsorship. So if you need any support on scaling infrastructure or any other new feature development, please do reach out to us. We will also help you sponsor your those kind of cost as well. We also help you boost your reach. So a lot of open source programs, as we were discussing, they do not get much contributions or collaborators. So with this open source program, we want to make this as our initiative as well. So with the help of our newsletters, our emailers, we will also help you reach out to more audience, where we will feature your projects, we will feature your new releases, as well as we'll help you get more contributors for your project. If you are in any need of any mentorship or guidance, feel free to, you can also reach out to us. We have a lot of amazing mentors we are in touch with, along with Srini, Sai, and Shiharsha, and they can help you guide through any challenges that they have overcome. And last is connect and collaborate. So we are also building a community of these open source program maintainers and as well as collaborators. So you can also talk to each other, use each other's resources to grow all together. That's all about open source program. So if you are interested, or if you have any project that you think that can leverage this program, just feel free to go to Lambda Test open source program page and feel free to fill out this short form, and we will be in touch with you. Uh, in this open source program, we have around 110 projects that we have supported. I think this initiative was started around 1.5 years from now, and 100 projects is it's a great benchmark that we have set, and we will be expanding to more projects. So again, if you have any other project that you think we can support, just we are a ping away. Now coming to Lambda's grants for open source. So we have around a $250,000 fund where we give out grants to different kinds of individual maintainers, contributors, depending on their contributions to testing and QA open source projects. We also give out this grants to different kinds of organizations as well. So if you are looking for sponsorship, and if you have built a project in QA and testing space, feel free to fill out the forms for grants for open source, and we will be in touch. So we have a lot of individuals, projects, as well as organizations that we have sponsored with Lambda's open source grants. And this year, we are also part of Lambda's Hacktoberfest, where we are bringing out our own Lambda test open source projects for contributions from public contributions, as well as we have partnered with different projects like Selenium, Appium, WebdriverIO, so that you can also contribute to them. And we also have some set number of prizes. So if you are contributing to these projects, or if you are looking to win some prizes, please just go to Lambda's Hacktoberfest. We have 2 more days for this campaign to end, and you will get some exciting prizes to win as well while you are contributing to open source projects. That's about it from me for today's open source month. So just as a closing remark, thank you so much, Srini and Sai and Shiharsha. That was great look inside our OSPO and on your journey of how you have become to contribute and maintain projects like Selenium, Appium, and WebdriverIO. Before we wrap up, I also wanted to give a final stage to our speakers. If you want to just wrap up or any piece of advice that you want to give out to our audience or anything that you want to say as a closing remark. Shiharsha, if you want to go first.
So if you want to be a good open source contributor, I suggest you have to be more consistent and patient. That's it.
Very well said. Thank you so much. Shini.
Don't wait until you feel you are ready. That's never gonna happen. So start now and pick something that frustrates you a lot more. Again, I would say probably something that annoys you a lot more. Try to solve that, and yeah, fix that. Just that. That's it.
Thank you, Sai.
Okay, I'm not going to give any advice, or I'm not going to say. I think pretty much Srini and Sriharsha has covered. So probably I'll just close it this way, Sparsh. So probably let's take a moment to reflect on what makes open source so powerful today. It's just not the code. I think it's the community behind it. So with that, I will just give it a close. Thank you so much for the
Very
session,
well.
Sparsh.
Thank you so much. I also want to take a short moment just to give a huge shout out to all open source maintainers, contributors, and community members out there. Your dedication, your late night debugging sessions, and your thoughtful reviews. Also, shout out to Mikola. And your consistent collaboration is what make this whole open source ecosystem thrive. And at Clamnatus, we are very proud to be part of this community, learning from it, contributing to it, and helping it grow. And to everyone who joined us today, thank you for being such a part of the Special Voices of Community sessions. And remember, behind every pull request, there is a story of curiosity, collaboration, and courage. So wherever you are in your open source journey, keep learning, keep building, and keep giving back. Thank you again for this amazing month of open source, and happy open source month to all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
folks.
all. Thank
much.
you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Sparsh.
Thank you.